bell.
Smash that bell. Recording in progress. That's the word. Hello everybody, and welcome to the October 27th SIG Contributor Experience meeting. It's just our general bi-weekly meeting. I'm your host, Alison here. So a little bit of housekeeping before we begin. We need a note taker. Who wants to take notes this time around? Feel free to, put your hand up.
And I'll fill in where I can.
Thank you very much, Pratish. I really appreciate that. Yeah, and make sure the notes, the meeting notes are linked in the Zoom chat. So make sure you put your name down there and put down your name down in the attendees as well. As usual, we have a code of conduct, which in short just means kind of be excellent to each other. We're all wonderful, lovely people here, so it's gonna be cool. With that, let's ride straight into things, because there's a couple things I can give updates on regarding office hours and things like that. So yeah, let's go. So office hours. Yesterday I managed to catch up with David Flanagan, aka Raw Code, in person, and had a really good chat about office hours and stuff. He's been telling me things are going really well with that, and I'm really happy about that. He's looking to change the format up a bit to have I think a SIG chair, or other people come along to help him out with the office hours things on like a rotating basis. There's another kind of thing with office hours as well. Like, I can't find it on the ContribEx calendar. I don't know if I'm not looking in the right place.
It was never on the ContribEx calendar.
Okay.
It was, since it's more of like a end user focused thing than a contributor focused thing. It's just been generally like blasting the comms about it. I think at one time it was on the general KDev calendar, but as we know, that won't work until we migrate.
Yeah. Another thing I think I was like chatting with David about, I was like, yeah, we always go over the office hours on the meeting notes, but I never see you around. But it turns out didn't have access to the mailing list, so I'm gonna get that resolved by end of this week. So hopefully by the time next kind of video meeting kind of rolls around, David will be able to join us here. So community meeting. I just saw. Wait, is there any questions about office hours as well? And we can get those written down, and yeah. Alrighty, so I'm gonna go straight into community meeting. And hello and welcome to Naren. I'm just saying, thank you for coming along. First time here, appreciate. With that, let's go into community meeting with Laura. Yeah,
I'm not that late. I made it.
You're not that. You made it just right on the dot when I was about to roll into your item here.
So community meeting. We haven't really kind of gotten to what we're going to be doing in terms of like redoing it again after the discussion last time. So right now it's just kind of getting that discussion finished and prepping for November. So no major updates, just kind of still coming off of KubeCon North America.
So one thing with the November thing is that we'll roll right into Thanksgiving.
Nice. Okay. So yes, I need to figure that out.
And December will be Christmas.
A little too close to the holidays for everybody. So yeah, go.
Honestly, I would say just punt it to next year and we focus on getting the mailing list migration done.
That sounds good to me. So let's do that. I like this idea.
We're already at the part of the year where we're like, push this into next year. That's good.
2022 planning.
So any questions around the community meeting? Yeah.
Do we have do we have a discussion of the whole mailing list migration later in the agenda?
There's not an item. I'm sorry, I don't mean to take over. My bad.
Okay.
No. We don't have it. But if someone could add that to the end kind of list here after Slack info right before open mic, we'll make sure we cover that. And because someone can we I think we need to add elections into here with the template. Meeting templates. Not got everything, and I didn't have enough time earlier to kind of prep the agenda. So we're just kind of impromptu, improvise, getting the agenda items in as we go. With that, we can kind of roll straight into contributor summit. So Bob,
Well, does anyone want to give a quick TLDR of how it went?
I can do that. So in person, like the summit itself, like you might have seen earlier on the mailing list a while back, I tried to organize a doc sprint. That went pretty all right for our first one, and we got like some things in, and we kind of kicked the tires on it. And I'm looking forward to with the contributor workshop that was around the doc sprint kind of thing. I know that Bob is working on getting some help from tech writers to come in and revamp that whole program. Very big thank you to Bob for helping get that organized. Yeah, so in terms of like the turnout, so during the day, it was just kind of like a nice chill. We're all kind of getting back together. There was like some collaboration that happened with like some of the other SIGs and people that turned up. It was very kind of chill. I think the one thing that was, that I think the most people were at and attended was the reception, the celebration. I think if you go over to the channel contributor summit, I think in Slack, you'll see the lovely kind of group photo that we got at the contributor celebration. Hopefully, by Valencia, we can get that photo just as big as we had it back at San Diego, which I remember. I think we still use that photo quite a lot, where it's like there's the whole contributor summit and we're all there. So I'm hoping, next, and I'm hoping that when we go to Valencia, things will be a bit more kind of streamlined. In terms of the retro, so the week after KubeCon, I haven't been able to catch up on the retro that happened over Slack. So if folks online can fill me in on that, that would be awesome. Thanks.
It didn't happen.
Okay. We can punt it. We can punt it to soon TM. Maybe next week, because next week, because I'll have kind of more bandwidth and time around that. So next, after contributor summit,
one for the I have something for contributor summits and all that. One, we have an AI still that we need to archive the contributor summit website, essentially put it over into past events. That if someone is looking for something to do, that it would probably be a pretty good first issue. It does involve some markdown changes of links. And that is in the K contributor site repo, and I can provide a link to a past PR where that was done. Other big thing, not a summit, but we have to kick off the planning for the contributor celebration.
On that, so this is probably kind of a good kind of issue that I'd be happy to collaborate with someone who's kind of new and wants to kind of, get a firsthand experience of what it's like kind of helping organize a celebration, which is, I need to get that one email out, which is, the call for help. So usually right before we start planning all these events, we do a kind of an email about covering kind of do the thing. I'm looking for someone to kind of probably shadow or kind of be kind of see and work alongside to help kind of orchestrate and go through and see all the steps and all that, so that they can help kind of run and lead it next time. I've got bandwidth to help push this forward, but I can't do everything myself. So yeah, so we need to sell everyone that next week I think we're going to have the meeting, and it's going to take over the previous slot that we had for planning contributor summit, because that time kind of worked pretty well for most people. But if it doesn't, we can kind of reschedule that, Bob.
So just as a FYI, at least for next week, Josh and I will not be available. We'll both be at the Linux Foundation Member Summit, but I would still suggest kicking something off.
Yeah, I'll be here. I'm not going to be at the Linux Foundation Member Summit, so feel free to reach out with Slack, and we can kind of find time to collaborate with folks who are interested. Yeah. So with that, any questions around contributor celebration?
So are you taking over as lead for contributor celebration?
I guess I'm putting my hand up here. Yeah. Oh, low battery.
Nobody's going to step in front of you.
Yeah,
that was going to be my first question.
I am happy to lead
+1
this
from me.
because I know kind of what needs to be done. I was helping out with it quite a lot last year, but I would love a group or like some people to kind of shadow and kind of help out, like work kind of directly, kind of, Keslin, work, and like some new folks on the line, if they're really interested and have like the time to kind of put in and kind of help make things happen, that they'll be like, yeah.
We will have a bake off again. That is for certain.
Yeah.
Okay, and so, put me down as part of a, since I won't be available for the meeting next week, put me down as part of a committee for food and craft activities.
Food and craft activities, yes.
Yeah, I'm going to recruit some folks.
And on that note, I want to kind of blast comms about that a bit. So I know we're already in Wednesday, and so there's going to be a little bit of things that we might want to rush today, so we can get something out on contributor tweets on Thursday, so we can kind of do like we're putting this thing together. Please, reply on this tweet to like things you'd be interested in seeing, or come visit us in like the Slack channel. Yeah, so if you've got some time, Keslin, it'd be cool to work on you with that. Yeah, so any questions, or alrighty.
Actually, one other thing, we are going to be using Discord again. That is just honestly for the sake of time, since we are already familiar with that platform.
So yeah, if you're good with Discord and you're a Discord moderator, or help, always appreciated too. Yeah, so Discord, I see Naren, you've got your hand raised. Go ahead.
Yeah, nothing. I just wanted to say that, was it me, or I also read kind of.
I think.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, you go. Yeah. Okay. This is my first time here. Hello, everyone. Yeah, glad to be here. And Alison talked about shadowing. So, like, I would like to know, like, is this do I need some experience to shadow on that, or I can be a total beginner and then I can get to shadow and know how the internal workings are going on? I would like to know more information regarding that.
Yeah, so I haven't that kind of just popped up in my head just now, and like it needs to be a fully fleshed and formed for, but the basic, the kind of general gist was I just want someone to kind of see like what kind of things are involved with kind of leading and helping direct kind of the summit, and like how to keep that all organized and orchestrated well, like what that involves. So then I can kind of pass it on to like someone new to the community, like you, for instance, to then like, you know, you can do that the next time this rolls around, because I think we're planning to do something like this. Was it once or twice a year? Because not everyone can make it to KubeCons, because KubeCons are like, yeah, they're quite
Right.
yeah, it's not, they're not successful, but yeah.
Yeah, I think right now we were still doing plan for like once a year at the end of the year after the last release, because that's the time like everyone can sort of relax. There's nothing necessarily on their plate. A couple other things that definitely need to get on the. Sorry, I'm talking about this now since I won't be at next week's meeting. We have to get going on the awards ASAP.
Yep.
Both what the award is going to be and reaching out to all the community members. And then, oh God, there was another thing I wanted to mention, but
just a warning note. I'm the charger here isn't working and my iPad is at 8%. So if I drop, Bob, please carry us for. Yeah.
Can you make me co-host? So like,
yeah, I will. I shall do that. How do I? Trying to do this on a participants, but while that happens, make co-host. Yeah, I know that Farva has had another question as well.
Yeah, I had the same question as Naren, and he asked the same question. So yeah, my doubt is cleared.
So yeah, can we get a action item in the notes from me to kind of follow up on, like, you know, defining like that shadowing thing? So to do Allison shall, yeah. So with that, we're gonna go jump into steering election now. So I'm gonna so steering election wise, yeah, Josh has got a good, yeah.
Yep. So we are in the middle of the voting period, which closes on November 4th. The ability to claim voter exceptions closes Friday. So far, and I actually have kind of a call here for the group to think of creative ways we could additionally get the word out. Because right now we're at 160 ballots cast, which is like roughly half of our target. And I know that some people will wait until the last minute to vote, but I'm not convinced that that's 150 people. I think a lot of people are still not paying attention. So if anybody has any good ideas beyond, you know, our usual email blast to Kubernetes dev and Slack, etc., of ways that we can get word out to the eligible contributors that they really kind of need to vote, it would be super helpful.
So I have an idea for this one. We have not used the Slack bot to send out messages to all the SIG channels yet.
Yeah.
So that's something we can do as a first step to send something. The other thing that has worked in the past too is emailing all the SIG mailing lists individually. So, you know, KDev is our general announcement one, but if we basically like CC is a KDev, literally just like do every SIG mailing list on it, that might also help. It's just getting the message on everyone's radar over and over and over again.
We don't have like a pre-existing account that's subscribed to all of the SIG mailing lists.
I have contributors and technically the calendar one can do it too.
So, oh yeah, I've got my hand up here. So I had a couple ideas around this. So I know that, like, you know, we'd use mailing lists. We like, you know, we're putting the word out, and there's a lot to like existing contributors, but I think it's a bit late kind of now, but in future, I'd like to kind of put on marketing team radar. So perhaps maybe we put it together kind of some sort of like video or something, some way to kind of advert broadcast, you know, what the steering election's about, and like, you know, why kind of it's like important, because it slips to the back of people's minds. And yeah. Question, is the APAC coordinator meeting disbanded? Now I want to kind of quickly follow up on that, because I saw it come in my emails like the other day that someone joined it briefly, and Bob has more information on this because I remember chatting to him about it. So
Okay.
yeah. And Laura, we'll get to you soon. Yeah.
So the APAC coordinator meeting has long been gone for quite some time now. What was done was an APAC meeting regarding a Meet Our Contributors session, and that was only set to run for a couple weeks. And that, so at this point, that has ended. It was just it was like a sprint of time to coordinate something.
So yeah. Laura?
Getting back to steering, one other way to possibly get the word out is since there's a lot of companies that have lots of people that are contributors as part of their companies, is there any way to kind of persuade some people to send an email out to internal email lists?
Yeah, that's actually already been done.
Oh, okay.
At least at Red Hat, Google, and VMware.
Yep.
All right. Well, then that answers that. So that was my idea.
Yeah, we actually had a discussion on the permissibility, you know, on what crossed the line into electioneering.
Gotcha.
To see what kind of notices we could send out internally at companies on steering, but we did share it out. It's actually pretty simple. If you look on the public steering discussion, you'll see David Eads posting a just like 2-line thing of "you're eligible to vote, please vote," that we sent out to Red Hatters who appear on in Voters YAML. So yeah, which is why we're looking for additional creative ideas, and I think the hitting all the SIGs is probably going to be the next step, and we should probably do that within the next 2 days, so that people still have time to vote.
I actually have a quick idea, although it'd be a little bit of a frustrating thing. Elections at Kubernetes.io could theoretically join the other mailing lists. The thing is, you'd want to join it and set it so you don't receive any mail from them. So that way you're not getting notifications or calendar invites, but you can send mail to it. I probably wouldn't do that for this time because it is a very time-intensive, like repetitive task.
Well, I'm also not sure that elections at Kubernetes.io is set up so that I can send mail from it.
It is.
Oh, it is. Okay.
You just have to do it through the Google Groups UI. It's kind of like, yeah. I could walk you through it if I was looking at it.
Okay. But okay. So we should put that in the retro as ideas for next time. Yeah. By the way, we're currently on the election committee discussing schedules for the retro. We have kind of a spread of time zones, so it'll take us a little while to figure out when we're going to have that, at which point contributor experience and steering will be invited.
Cool. Any more questions about the election?
Well, the one other comment I'll say is that we've had, count, somewhere around 20 exception requests, and around 17 of those have been granted. And the good news from that is that people are finding the new exception request widget apparently relatively easy to use based on the number of requests.
The retro being talked here is the it is the election, the steering election retro. So for context, like, so the last couple of weeks we've been doing, the last like month and a bit, we've been organizing like the steering election because you know, we need to elect new people into steering. And so what steering does is they help kind of define the kind of direction and things of the Kubernetes project. Yeah. So that's a little brief kind of intro to it. For more information about, like, you know, structures within, like, you know, Kubernetes and stuff, I would recommend looking back at some of the old new contributor workshop videos, because they've got a good breakdown of all the different kind of groups inside kind of the Kubernetes inside the project. Yeah, so that's a bit of information. Yeah. So with the election all wrapped up, we're going to go straight on to mentoring here. So I see we have Ihor on the line. So I'm going to hand over to Ihor. Do you have any updates around LFX or those initiatives? Okay. Oh, I think I don't know. Ihor, yeah, you there?
I'm here. I
Yeah.
was actually stepping back for a minute, so have I missed something?
Oh yeah, it's just we're just coming into the mentoring part of like the meeting, and yeah, do you have any updates around LFX mentorship, like
Yeah, so basically we are currently collecting the midterm evaluations of the mentees with the LFX program, and this is it. LFX team actually, so it's kind of like the teaser, since we haven't finalized details yet, but we plan to do something like the virtual mentees showcase later this year or at the beginning of the next year, probably with having the mentees who have successfully graduated from the CNCF LFX programs during this year and like an earlier. So those mentees will be able to apply for speaking at the event, and we're happy to feature some of them there. So we'll make more like we'll kind of have an announcement of this event and initiative later in November. But if you have been a mentee with the LFX, with the CNCF LFX program back in 2021 or before with the community bridge, so it can be a good opportunity for you also to showcase your kind of activity with what you have done and to present it to the wider audience. But again, more details coming soon.
cool. So contributor workshop, I think we covered that earlier. Did we? I'm having a bit of deja vu here.
So we started talking about the tech writers will be working on it.
Yeah, tech writers are working on it. We'll be working on it. And Bob's finishing up the contract kind of stuff for that thing today. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Oh yeah, because it came up with the docs brand and so with that, community management, it's a blank underneath it. I think here this is the part where we talk about the KDev migration. You know, yeah, this is the part here. So Bob.
It's actually I was trying to find the open issue for it. It might have been on the community meeting thread. Josh, did you have something to say?
It's about contributor documentation. Because I just happened to get pinged on an issue this morning, because once again, it rotated around lifecycle periods. That is actually kind of a roadblock on that, which is that SIG docs is refusing to redirect the contributor pages to the contributor site until we have localization implemented. And that issue's been open for, I don't know, roughly a year. And as far as I know, it's still the policy.
And
So we either need to have localization or a roadmap, or we need to talk to SIGDocs and come up with a workaround.
the site supports localization, just there's content hasn't been localized. Like it supports it out of the box. The only thing we have to do, like right now, just because there's only an EN folder in there, that's it.
Yeah. Would it be something that we could look into as like, kind of building out, maybe having someone new kind of peer on helping get this over perhaps, so we can get another person like more familiar with the contributor site, so we're going to get more help with it, because this is going to take some time. And I think if one of us like puts our hands up and we're like, yeah, we can do that all, yeah, it's they're gonna
the one thing I would do is I would reach out, so because they have their own page for their contributing docs on there, and it's as far as I know, it's not been localized into all the languages that they support. So I'd focus on reaching out to whoever has actually localized their contributing portion of it, and that will then have a set of owners and all that too, that might be able to help guide who has bandwidth to potentially work on that.
And by the way, the reason why this is critical is this came off of a discussion about the fact that it's still the case that unless you happen to know the URL for the contributor site, you can't find it.
Oh, yeah, that's a that's a big issue. There we go. I've
So does
just
that
averted
mean-
a crisis.
That's good. So does that mean the contributor site needs some SEO work?
Yeah, but it also needs to be linked from other Kubernetes sites, which currently it is not.
Yeah, which is part of SEO.
Yeah.
Yep, it's the big thing of
I mean,
SEO.
Getting the links is the thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, as far as the docs localization thing, like the blocker I would say is people willing to work on it. It does require a little. Sorry.
It does. No, you go.
It requires people to be have at least a little bit of familiarity with Hugo, because there is like some configuration stuff that has to be done. But yeah, it's literally just blocked on people.
Would it make
Yeah.
sense to have that as an explicit like subgroup here? Kind of like we have the GitHub admins and we have the YouTube admins and things like that, because then it's something that someone can point to and say, I'm part of this subgroup.
I mean, I hate to say it, but does this fall under the marketing team's purview somehow?
I would say at least as far as like SEO, like having help there would be great. As far as the localization side of things, one of the reasons why we focused on localizing the contributor cheat sheet is there was no bandwidth to localize the actual contributor guide. So another potential first step would be to stub out the various localizations for the localized contributor guide or contributor cheat sheet. So that way, since we have all those localized already, everything else would default back to English, but at least those pages explicitly would be in the correct language.
How do we want to like approach this kind of localization kind of thing? Because I think, is it like a really big chunk of work multiple people are going to be kind of collaborating on? Because
it's also ongoing forever, right?
Right.
Okay. but there's the initial kind of like get the stuff underway. Is there part of this? Is there like the kind of initial like what we want to achieve like first and get like that first improvement and put that on like a separate branch and then get that merged in and then kind of iterate then on the main branch? Like I was just thinking about that.
It'll also involve a lot of iteration around something else that's a sort of major to do, which is gradually moving stuff out of the community repo and into the contributor site repo, because the community repo is not set up for localization.
I have tried so many times to do that, and I've gotten so much like.
Well, I mean, the answer is to just do it for a lot of things. Yeah. Hi, this is here now. Put some breadcrumbs in.
Yeah.
The conversations with the like other, I will say, ContribEx leadership and other people that are the root owners of like the contributor guide have been an issue there. I think our best chance to potentially move that stuff there will be when the tech writers completely redo the contributor guide, because one of their tasks is to rewrite the entire thing in one voice and one you know, like right now since it's been written by like 50 people, it sort of is all over the place, and it's hard to follow. So that might be the opportunity for us to do that.
Let me just check one thing. How are we doing? Yeah. Do we want to kind of any more questions around the contributor site and things like that? Or right. So let's get into marketing. Caslin.
Gotta click all the buttons. Hello. So we canceled our meeting last week because several of our more senior members especially were out and busy and doing all kinds of things. So we didn't meet, of course, KubeCon week, and we didn't meet last week. But our plan from before KubeCon was for our next meeting to discuss some updates to our role definitions in our documentation and to establish kind of a shadowing program of how we get new people into those roles and kind of discuss how the whole sub-project works these days, since we haven't updated that, spent significant effort on updating that since kind of our creation as a group. So that's the plan for the next meeting, is to go over roles and shadowing type efforts, which should be Friday. So hopefully we'll go over that. Hopefully folks will be around.
All right. Any questions around marketing?
Well, sort of, we touched on this earlier during the steering election, but we definitely need to get the like Slack messages and all that stuff out.
Yeah, we've got a tweet coming later this week in a couple of days. I'm also going to try to put one together for today, but definitely the Slack bot sounds more important for this.
I think that will hit, like, because we have a whole bunch of our contributors that literally don't use Slack or don't use Twitter. So I think that will also, it's a lot easier to lose things in the storm that is Twitter.
Oh, yep.
So we'll try to make sure that happens.
Okay, contributor documentation. I think we covered all the contributor sites going to be looked over. I'm going to put another action item, like, you know, for eventually we'll update the template for this meeting, because there are some things that aren't covered in it. If anyone wants to help out with that, that would be awesome, actually. Good first kind of thing to help out with, good first contribution kind of thing there. Because I keep saying I'm going to get around to fixing the template and never do. So yeah, so that note aside, a little bit of a side rail there. Okay, so GitHub management. Do we have any updates around GitHub management? I don't see Bob or Nikita. I see Bob on the line. I don't see Nikita or Christoph, but Bob's here.
There's a meeting tomorrow. The big thing is Easy CLA. I know I've talked about it before. The biggest problem is it's just been blocked on me. I am going to send out comms hopefully later today, tomorrow at the latest, regarding flipping it on in a non-blocking mode, because we need to test it if we're going to roll it out after code freeze. And that's really the big thing. It's just too many things for me. And that's something that gets bumped up the list. The other thing is that there's an open PR right now from Nikita. We are starting to move forward on actually doing the rotation of the membership coordinators and GitHub admins. It's not an on-call list, but it's sort of an on-call list. It's essentially like who's on point for that week, because we keep falling behind on our SLO for time and respond to things. When KubeCon happened, like all the admins were busy, all the new membership coordinators were busy, and so it wound up being like 2.5 weeks for some of the people before they had their sort of stuff processed.
Yep.
I think those are the big things.
Cool. Yeah. Sorry, I just spaced out for a second there. So GitHub management, yep, that's all good. So any questions around any questions around that for now? Okay, Slack Infra. So
no updates.
No updates. Yeah. And now we've got open mic, which is kind of one of the pretty cool kind of times to, if you've got questions. I see some people have put like in the open mic discussion some things already. So we've got issues and a comment over here. So let's pull that up. How do I open that link?
Yeah, actually, I put that comment. Madhav and me have been working on this Catacoda scenario literally through these months. So what we have come up with is a tutorial for upstream Kubernetes developer to know how to set up the Kubernetes locally. And so there have been long discussion on that, and recently we came up with the whole pipeline which we want to put it as a Catacoda scenario. So then our problem is the scenario is prepared in the HackMD file, but to publish the scenario, we need an author permission. So I was trying to search if Kubernetes already had a repository specifically for Catacoda so as to release such tutorials, but I couldn't find one. So the workaround is we use our personal GitHub IDs or like GitHub author profile to design the repository for Catacoda tutorial. But that would be good if we make a another repository considered for Catacoda tutorial, because this is dynamic. This is going to change, or no, this is going to get updated. So like having it on the individual repository might be a problem.
So does it? I'm not too familiar with Catacoda in terms of like the actual like setup. Is there a process for signing up as a GitHub organization?
Yeah, we could sign up, like Kubernetes could sign up as an author profile in Catacoda, so that we could put on our own tutorials for upstream. Like we have an tutorials for end users, but I couldn't find it like written by Kubernetes.
This is actually probably something that should run by steering, since steering owns the properties of the things on external sites. I would create an issue in Kubernetes steering with a request for that. And Dims, myself, like Nikita are on there. That Nikita won't be on there next week, but that's something we can look at. If you're looking to just like prototype it, I say, go for it, do it in your personal GitHub one. But when it comes to like actually setting up the organization and setting up all that stuff, we run it by steering first, then we'll like request a repo for them to exist in. Also, sorry, Allison, I don't want to like just interrupt or anything like that, or
no,
take over. It's just the
no, you got this, Bob. Yeah, because you've got like I'm learning from you as well a lot, like because you're a wonderful co-chair over here, and I'm like I'm now 100% in the loop on that. But the other thing I wanted to get like kind of the full kind of loop circle on with the Katacoda stuff. So I know at the moment there are like some Katacoda scenarios on like the docs.kubernetes.io, and so these scenarios that I see that like we're doing now, are they kind of focused around like contributing to Kubernetes, or are they focused around using Kubernetes? I'm using Kubernetes. Okay.
So
yeah,
this is actually focused on contributing to Kubernetes, like how to like particularly clone the repo, set up in your own local system, and then running the tests. Few of the test examples we have given that, because we can't do the make thing. There is a long discussion that has been done on this particular issue, and we have tried to minimize the computation and put the minimum thing that is possible in Katacoda scenario. And also after this HackMD file was ready, I guess Madhav had it gone through DIMS, and we got a positive review from DIMS itself. Now, when I went through the process of publishing it, I got this roadblock of having a GitHub repository specifically in a particular format to have this thing released in Katacoda. So that's the.
This is actually really great stuff. Yeah, because I've seen that issue kind of pass by, and like I'll take some time tonight to like read over and kind of get more familiar with what you're trying to do out here, because it's really good kind of stuff, and it's a lot of the stuff that kind of falls into the line of the contributor workshop and kind of things that we've done with contributor workshops in person. So yeah, pretty cool. So any other questions on that? So did we chat about the mailing list stuff earlier? Sorry, I'm a bit fuzzy because we were going over community management. I remember we said Kate's.
It came up and we didn't actually get back to it yet. So I moved down into the discussion section.
Awesome. So yeah, Kate's dev migration.
Is there an open issue for it? I remember it coming up on GitHub someplace. I think it was in the community meeting thread. And revisiting the community meeting.
Yes. I don't have the
That's
issue.
where we were talking about it. Yes. So the discussion was, I think, around we're kind of putting the community meeting on hold until we get to the other. So, and then I think Josh, you were the one who asked, have we actually talked about that yet? So, but Josh needs to drop and rejoin. So, yay. I don't have anything else to contribute.
The big thing is going to be we're going to need significant comms, and we will need to set a date of the cutover. The biggest thing for people will be that we know is the sharing of the docs, but we now know that we can export and import the mailing list. So everyone will be able to preserve, everyone can be moved over to the new mailing list. So it's teasing out the order of operations and assigning tasks. Like any of the current mailing list moderators will be able to export the list. And as far as setting up the new one, that is a PR to the Keats.io repo, plus a little bit of manual configuration. Yeah, I think the big thing is teasing out the comms schedule. I would probably, like, if we don't have an open issue right now, we should on there and figure out the schedule that we want to do. Give people plenty of time to to potentially, reshare with the Kubernetes.io list that we get. Although I do have a feeling there's gonna be a lot of little bumps along the way with that.
Yeah. One of the things I actually wanted to ask with this is if people are going in and they're fixing what a lot of their docs are shared with, do we want to write instructions at the same time about potentially changing ownership of those docs? Because there are an awful lot of things like, for example, regular SIG meeting agendas that effectively are still in somebody's personal drive.
Yeah. So,
and if people are going in there and changing the permissions, it makes sense to at least give them instructions on making the doc owned by Kubernetes.io at the same time.
There is something else that we might want to, I don't want to delay this further, but there is something that might be useful for this. I don't know the current state of it, but Aaron was working on G Suite automation. And we can, now that we're at a higher tier of G Suite, every SIG mailing list could have a drive. And as long as the docs live on that drive, all ownership will be correct. So that is something else we might want to either roll in or include as I mentioned, like when you start sharing stuff out, put your stuff here.
Okay. That involves migrating the SIG mailing list to Kubernetes.io ownership, though, yes?
Creating them doesn't, creating the drive doesn't, but it is something else we want to do. I also don't know the current status of that, being able to auto provision those drives.
Okay.
I know they can be manually provisioned right now. Either way, I would probably, because the scope of this is larger than the people on this call, I would just come up with a rough plan and send that to like the ContribEx mailing list, or open an issue and send that to the mailing list for us to have a discussion with like all parties involved there. That's my gut take on it. I'm happy to hear other people's thoughts.
I feel like we could have the email and then like a space to work in. I think if we had both, that would be good. So like having a temporary Slack channel just to kind of be a working channel with the email being the source of truth. Because otherwise we're going to just kind of go around and around and have discussions in email, I feel like.
Oh, yes. Raise hand iPad thing. It keeps saying about raise hand. I was thinking maybe do we need to form kind of working group or something, because there are some intersecting things around automation from like, from maybe other groups in Kubernetes, and this communication like that we as ContribEx need to kind of send out. What is your feeling about that, Bob?
My one concern is if we're forming a working group and that this will not get done soon.
Yeah.
If we want to try and do the at least KDev, then I would try and keep it, I don't want to say smaller in scope because it's kind of large, but like still like I would avoid the governance overhead of that one.
Okay, yeah, because we're quite late in the year as well, like, and people are going to have holidays and the amount of time it's going to take to do that, as well as all the other stuff we have planned, like, you know, contributor celebration. Yeah, let's punt. Yeah, because I think I see like this migration. It's a lot of work. Yeah, but I think I saw the issue that Laura linked earlier, and I think there's a good to do on there, which is we need to come up with a timeline of like when we're going to do things. We need to come up like, you know, with that timeline when comms will be sent out and all that. And it's kind of just iterating on some of the points we've kind of covered already as well. But I think, yeah, once we kind of get together and kind of can decide on what the cadence, what the schedule for doing this should be, I think, yeah, it should, yeah, that'd be a good step in the right direction there. Thoughts? Any thoughts, anybody? So we've got about 3 minutes left here. So if anyone wants to like, has any random questions or anything they want to chat about, I'll just double check. Yeah, there's nothing else kind of listed down here on the open mic discussion. So yeah, got a little bit of time.
So I wanted to ask about, so there's a mention on K community about one-on-one mentoring. Is that still happening, or is that sort of dead?
It's been dead for a long time.
Okay, are there plans to revive it?
The big problem is, like, originally it was a problem with scheduling. Right now, there's really no mentors available.
Okay, got it. So I've been holding like weekly office hours for new contributors just to like ask questions and things like that. I can help mentor on that side of things, maybe not on the technical side as much. So if there are plans to revive it, more than happy to help out there.
It was figuring out like how to schedule, and it was all the logistics of it. And once it became a logistics, like a huge logistic problems.
That's true.
Yeah.
And to get into the shadowing thing of the summit events, do I ask in the ContribEx SIG channel, or how do I get started with it? Who do I ping, Bob or Allison?
I'd ping in, do we have a contributor celebration channel?
There's the summit staff.
Summit staff, yeah, summit staff, because we never run summits and celebrations at the same time. So yeah, we'll just repurpose the contributor summit channel. So if you kind of put your name down there and that you'd be keen on like shadowing, like, you know, leads and roles in that, need to kind of define that stuff a little bit more. It exists, like people took on stuff like during the last one, like we had like points of like call for certain things. I just need to go back over what we did last time, because it's about a year back. But yeah, reach out in the contributor summit, reach out in the contributor summit channel, like ping a message like in there. Everyone on the school, if you're interested in helping out, ping a message on there and be like, hi. And then yeah, just can get like a rough gauge from that at the moment, and we'll send a mailing list email soon. Yeah. With that, time is up. We kind of run a little bit over time here. No, we're not. We're 1800 on the dot. So thank you very much, everyone here, yeah, for coming. Thank you to Pratish for taking notes. And yeah, see you on the next Zoom meeting. Yeah.
Later.